Oh,
Yeah, you're.
okay. Hold on a second.
I mean,
There we go.
I like Guy,
I do.
but
Who doesn't?
but you know, the verification of body parts, I'm okay just
That's a
not
problem.
having.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I see that.
Mr. Pants. Listen, Mr. Pants. I don't want to hear any crap from you about body parts.
All right, fair enough.
Pants.
In my defense, though, I don't
Yes.
stand up on camera.
That is true. I'm wearing shorts only because it's like 75 degrees here today.
Oh, it's getting a little chilly here.
The cold's
It's
coming.
not-
It's gonna be 30s tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, Chicago, man. It's Chicago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we were supposed to get to the mid 50s today.
How'd
We
that
didn't
work
get
out
up
for
to
you?
50. That didn't happen.
It's because you didn't elect the right people.
Yeah.
Well, we're still working on it. We don't know who we
Yeah.
elected yet.
Yeah,
Oh, really? Yeah.
Here,
Yeah,
after
what's his
5
name?
minutes after the polls closed, we already knew who our governor was.
You guys know who Marco Armont is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
He posted this bullshit on Twitter yesterday. If you vote Republican, don't follow me. Don't listen to my shows. Don't do this. Don't do that. It was like, you fucking ass clown.
Oh,
Really?
come on.
Jesus Christ. It's like we had here in Northern Virginia, we had like one thing. You know, my wife bugged me and bugged me and bugged me to go and early vote. So finally, like last weekend, I was like, geez, all right, fine. So I drive down to the government center where you can early vote and show them my ID and go through all the rigmarole. And they hand me the ballot, and it's for whoever our local, I can't remember who is Beyer and whoever the Republican was. And it was like, really? I went through all this just so that you know, Beyer, who has won like re-election for the last 100 years, can get reelected again. You know, it's like, why are you doing this to me? Can't there just be like even like a dog walking ordinance or something? You know, something else other than just Don Beyer, who I will not shop at his car dealership because one of his salesmen screwed me over on the first Kia Soul that I was looking at.
See, now that's just bad business.
It is.
Colorado, we do mail ballots. So
no, we could do that too here too.
Yeah, that's all you do in Colorado.
I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of mail ballots.
You have not experienced
Colorado
mail ballots.
I want people verified that they are who they say they are when they're going to vote.
It's all verified.
Well, I don't know how.
That
anybody
Colorado
can get that
has
ballot
Colorado doesn't have
voter ID law.
No, no, the other thing, the thing that that the hardcore magas are so worried about.
Oh God.
The fake ballots and stuff. Voter fraud. There we go.
Doing in freaking Arizona. You had armed idiots outside of the mail ballots. It's like, really?
It's insane.
Really? You know?
So,
and I think they screwed themselves in Pennsylvania. It was like, you guys spoke so much about Fetterman, just over and over and over again. Well, he's not competent. He sounded like crap in the debate, blah, 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 blah. All you did was just gain sympathy for him. There was probably, whatever the difference was in the vote, was probably all sympathy votes because they were tired of hearing you talk smack about a guy who's doing the best that he can under very, very difficult circumstances. Leave him alone. Yeah. But no, you couldn't do it. You had to make fun of him. Okay, well, your guy Oz, he's all Oz out of there. And I know it doesn't fit, but it's all I got.
Yeah,
it's Oz I got.
The doc needs to go back to being a doc.
Yeah. Well, thanks to our mail-in ballot
system.
No. It gave me weeks to like literally weeks to go through all of my books, because we had so many things on our ballot this
We
time.
had nothing.
That,
we had literally.
that I
we had
had
a fair
multiple
amount.
books that the county and the state mailed to me, so I could go through everything. And I mean, we had so much local stuff that was like
I love Fresca.
Me too.
really big
Fresca's the
deal
awesomest
stuff.
You gave me some.
The one thing
Oh, that's right, I did.
that's
We're
that
we're
was-
listening, Jeff. Go ahead. We're just talking about Fresca.
No, it's fine. You can talk about Fresca. The one thing that we had that I didn't get to vote on because I'm not in the right district for that, thank God, was whether or not someone else gets to take Lauren Boebert's place, because she was up for re-election, and that I'm just amazed, but somehow that that one's going to take a while, because they're still counting ballots, and depending on the time of day, she'll be like 400 votes ahead, and then she'll be 400 votes behind.
Well,
And-
it's like what Walker and what's his name in Georgia. There was actually a third party guy, and I have no idea who he is, but the difference between those two was pretty much the votes that guy got. So now in December, early December, they're going to have a runoff, and it's like, oh, just who got the most votes, okay, and then that's it. Just have that be the winner. I don't really care about the percentages.
Let's go talk about something more fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate politics.
Politics suck. Good thing you're not recording this. Oh,
No,
wait.
not at all. All right. I'm going to do an audio hijack. I think we're ready for that. 229. Clear my throat. I have a cold I'm dealing with here. All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 229 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week is Guy Searle. How you doing, Guy?
I'm doing fine. We're not even talking about politics or underpants.
Yeah. Pre-show. Yeah.
You got that like under the radar before. It was like 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, and Jeff just didn't have time.
He didn't.
Oh, I had time.
He always has
I
time.
just have more respect for Dave than Chuck.
And that
Well,
voice
then it's
is
a good thing that
Jeff
Chuck
Gammett
doesn't
back on the
watch
show.
this
How you doing,
show.
Jeff?
I'm doing all right. And Chuck, if you're watching, I actually do have a lot of respect.
We love
for
you, Chuck.
But it was too good of a joke to pass up.
It was. But there is a good amount of news I found this week to talk about, and beta keeps going on and all kinds of fun stuff with that. I have an experience with the AirPods Pro I'm going to talk about here in a bit, and a few other surprises, but why not? Let's just jump right into the news for this week. This story was just kind of setting for Jeff here, because support for storing your ID in your Apple Wallet has finally expanded to another U.S. state. iPhone and Apple Watch users in Colorado can now store their driver's license or state ID in an Apple Wallet application. The feature was first announced by Apple in 2021, ultimately delayed until 2022, but it's been gradually rolling out ever since. And we've talked about this before, and well, it looks like, Jeff, you can put your state ID or your driver's license or any ID you want in the Apple Wallet. I
haven't had a chance to set it up yet, but I am so excited for this because, well, actually, did they announce it that it's actually available now? Because I thought that's what they said. Okay,
they did.
The Colorado ID app, which is what we had used before, is one of the most horrible dumpster fires of an app I've ever experienced. I mean, it is garbage. So being able to put my ID into Wallet instead would be great. The crappy thing is, it doesn't matter, because there's like, I think 5 jurisdictions in the state that will acknowledge your digital ID. And for everywhere else, you have to use your physical ID. Like if you're dealing with law enforcement, if you go into, say, like a liquor store and and show the digital ID, they're supposed to accept that. A lot of them have no idea what it is. So,
no
but
clue.
still, the fact that we can do it, that's one step closer to
Nerdvana.
Thank you.
They're saying here the Colorado Department of Revenue had highlighted the benefits, of course, you being able to use it at TSA checkpoints. Physically handing over your driver's license or state ID is the thing of the past. Your information is presented digitally, and then they have to have an identity reader. So, like you just said, there's going to be places that don't have no clue how to deal with this, especially liquor stores. So, it's slowly getting there. I guess one state, because I think we have. I don't know the exact number. I think it was probably like not.
I think there's 3 other states that do it.
3 other states.
Right
yeah, I thought there was up to 10, but. Would you do this?
Arizona, and Maryland.
Okay, so it's close.
Okay, so Colorado's number 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so once Virginia has it, are you going to do it, Guy?
Yeah, I will. I'm, it almost seems freeing to use a form of identification that other parts of the world will have no idea what to do with. It's kind of like, look, I went through the trouble to put it on my expensive phone. Okay. The least you could do is just accept my word that this is who I am and not a potentially photoshopped image.
Well, I can tell you by traveling experience. I just traveled last week to Las Vegas, and they don't even need to scan your at the TSA checkpoint. They don't even need to scan your boarding pass anymore. All I do is they take your driver's license, since I have real ID, and they just stick it into a machine, scan the barcode on my driver's license. Then he goes like this, and I have my mask on. He says, "Can you take your mask down?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I did that. All right, that's you. See you later." That's it. They didn't have to scan. The only time you have to scan the boarding pass is when you actually get on the plane. So
but you
they
still
changed
have
that
to show
too.
The boarding pass, right?
No,
but you have to show it.
Not at the checkpoint. No,
not checkpoint, because they already have me in the system, knowing I've already got a boarding pass.
Oh, okay. So good. There's a computer that knows even more about us.
Yeah, well, there's an extra. It's a one less step you have to do, and this is also, of course, TSA pre. So
I am not paranoid. Why are you all against me?
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how much longer it takes to expand to other states in the United States. But at least, Jeff, once you get it, you'll have to share your experience. Let us know.
Yeah, Florida will be last.
Good.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my my account password for Colorado so I can log back into the app, because it randomly just stops working.
Of course.
Because I was going to see if I could, if I have to be in the app to get it to do its thing.
Yep. We'll find out how it goes.
Yeah, and it's saying that Arizona, I think Arizona has it. Connecticut, Georgia, Iowa, Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Utah are the other ones that was like part of the initial.
So there's almost 10 states.
But only 3 have it.
Yeah. Okay. Only 3. Go. All right. Well, Jeff will get back to us once he gets it set up. Let us know. Maybe. Microsoft is now rolling out iCloud Photos integration with Windows 11 for users. Microsoft last month announced that it was working with Apple to bring the Apple TV and Apple Music app to the Windows PCs. More than that, the company teased the integration of the native Photos app on Windows 11 with iCloud Photos. Now, this integration is finally being rolled out to Windows users. This was according to The Verge update to the Photos app in Windows 11 with iCloud Photos integration now available. You now can get everything up and running, and you must update the app through the Microsoft Store and then install iCloud for Windows. After that, just get your Apple ID, sync with iCloud apps, and I'm you know what? As much as I'm not a huge Windows fan, but I have to support it. I'm glad to see this. I'm glad to see the fact that that Apple just continues to expand upon the horizons of outside of their box, and not have to be a Mac and not have to be an Apple device in order to work with their services. So, what do you think? I think this is I think it's a good thing. Yeah,
I actually use iCloud on Windows when I'm at work.
Yeah, I've used it. Yeah,
because you don't have. I can't bring a computer into the building with me, even though I have an iPad. So yeah, it's like, oh, but that's a laptop. It's like, no. So I can't bring in a laptop, but I can have an iPad and a phone. It's like, okay, got it. But the fact that iCloud works with Windows, and it goes, I mean, it's not just Windows 11, it's also Windows 10 and going back a little bit farther, not necessarily with Photos, but with some of the other services that Apple provides with iCloud. The fact that Photos now works for it, that's a good thing. I mean, there's no downside there. I can't think of anything.
Nope.
Unless, of course, it duplicates all the photos, which I hope it does not do.
I would hope not, but I've heard worse things.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jeff? You're not much of a Windows user, but I think this is a good thing.
Yeah, well, it makes sense to do this because Apple knows there's a lot of Windows users that have iPhones.
Yeah.
And this just keeps those Windows users a little bit closer in the Apple ecosystem. So yeah.
I think Apple knew a long time ago, back in 2001, when they had the iPod and it was a FireWire connector, and you couldn't plug it into a Windows machine, and you couldn't use any software to download those songs onto it. That hackers got to it quickly, and then they've come to realize, you know what, I think we have to support Windows. It's important.
Yeah.
Next story here. How to recycle most any type of electronics at Apple, Best Buy, and Staples. This is an article on 9 to 5 Mac here, and curious where you can recycle old devices for free. They have a whole grid here looking through here what you can do and what can be recycled in the store. Notably, I will give this. I just talked to Chuck Joyner earlier tonight as we record this, and he confirms this that he went to Staples of the 3 stores here, and this article actually shows all the tech that they'll take for recycling, including all the adapters and cables and camcorders and laptops and screens, and he said he went to the store and went up to him and says, "Hey, you guys can recycle. What does it cost, and what do you have to do? No, just go back there to the bin, just dump it in the bin. You're out the door."
Yep.
So apparently Staples has really opened this up, because I know when you go to a Best Buy, they would scrutinize what you'd bring, and then they would charge you.
Yep. I brought I think it was like a busted iMac or a TV set or something, and it was like $25 just for me to drop it off at the store. So if Staples and some of the other stores are going to do that for free and accept it and follow through with recycling it, and not just put it in a great big bin for someone to come and just throw in landfill someplace, I'm all for that. And I will, because I don't really go to Best Buy much anymore, but I will go to an office supply store, and if Staples is doing this, then I'll pick Staples over somebody else just for this alone.
Oh, I'm pretty stoked about this, actually. And I got, Chuck said he dropped off, he has a bunch of really old laptops he dropped off, and a TV screen, and monitors, and they take it all for free, and they'll actually give you a $5 credit for any device that you recycle, and even $2 for if you recycle an ink or toner cartridge. So,
and thank God they take SodaStream CO2 cylinders.
Yeah.
It was like keeping me up at night.
I thought it was.
Yeah, you could tell. I'm so tired.
Yeah, the rings under your eye. Yeah.
Good thing though, Jeff. You think?
Yeah, this is great. The Best Buy that's near me, they have these big recycle bins at the front of the store, but they have openings that are like different sizes.
It's big.
Yeah. So if it's an
electronic, your cell phone.
if it's an electronic device small enough to go through that opening, they don't care. Just put it in and you walk away. What that meant is that for basically everything else, we had to drive to the hard to recycle facility in Boulder and pay to recycle stuff there, which I didn't mind, because hey, at least it wasn't going in a landfill.
Right.
But still, the Staples is a lot closer, and why not just go there?
My local town does it, but you have to do it on a Wednesday from 10 a.m. to noon. to drop it off at the public works. So, and I've done that before. I've dropped off old tube TVs. They took it all and then didn't charge for it, but I got to take some time off just to go take care of that. So, but this is good stuff. Definitely glad that they're being very reasonable with recycle. So, this story, we always are talking about this. Apple raises trade-in values for some iPhone models, but lowers offers for others. They have adjusted the trade-in values from many of the older iPhones this week as we record, and they dived into some of the important numbers here that are happening. This article has all the notable items. It looks like the 10R, which I have as a cam, and I'm still going to continue to use this as a webcam because it's awesome. Down to it's up to $150. They had dropped it to $140. It was $200 about a couple months ago, but as you have to expect, numbers are going to start going down. So, the 13 Pro Max went down from 720 to 650. So you're going to start seeing the numbers are going to start dropping when it comes to trading values. You know what? It's so much easier just to do this. I mean, I remember always like doing Craigslist and eBay and trying to, some of those other services, those trading programs. Gazelle was the other one I used to use. And it's just more, my time is more valuable than me worrying about the few extra bucks I'm going to get doing it that way versus just trading it with Apple and just being done with it. What do you think, Jeff?
As long as you can get a good value,
right?
Then great. I've had bad luck with the values that Apple has offered me on trade-ins. And this is stuff that's in really good condition. Yeah. So ultimately, I have never used their trade-in program, and instead, I just take my old stuff and give it to family members. Oh, and now they have something newer than they had.
That makes sense. You trade? You traded and stuff before, Guy? Haven't you? The Apple?
Sometimes I have. Usually, I either pass it down to my kids or my wife, or I just use it until it's not really worth anything anymore. Like I'm still on an iPhone 13, and if there's not a compelling reason to go to a 15 when that comes out next year, I'll stick with the 13 because it's an awesome phone. And so if I use a phone that cost me $1,100 or so for 3 years, I've pretty much gotten my money's worth out of it.
You sure have. Mm-hmm. Especially your wife always holding on to those old SEs.
Oh, so. Still using
it. If she's happy, that's what matters.
Happy life or happy wife, happy life.
That is true. Next story, Apple releases new AirPods Pro 2 firmware as users complain about audio drifting issues. And I will definitely tell you that's doing the podcast every week using these AirPods Pro 2. I would be hearing echo chambers and drifting and cutting in and out and all this stuff. But they did roll out this new version of the firmware this week as we record, bringing Apple's latest Pro version to 5.1.58 and the build number 5B58. So the update does come, as I said, of people complaining about the audio syncing and drifting issues. And it just was one of the most bizarre things. I mean, I've had the previous gen AirPods and never had really that much of a problem with it. It's always interesting to see how do you update them, and you can't because it just happens. So yesterday, I once I saw this, I said, okay, let me connect to my iPhone, and because you have to be connected to an iPhone or an iPad for that matter to sync the firmware. And if it just you look at it and it's still the old version. So then I just let it go, and it must have hit synced at that point. Once I left, I had them in my ears and just was listening to some stuff for a while, and then I checked today, and then they're great. And so it's been lovely. I'm not dealing with all that stuff anymore. So Guy, you still have the old AirPods, right?
I'm on the AirPod Pro ones,
the first gen, right?
First gen, and they're fine, but anytime I've heard that kind of stuff, I figured it was just a counter effect from the 70s. But I just carried on with it. It was like, this isn't any different than that Led Zeppelin concert I went to.
That's right. Any thoughts on this, Jeff?
I think it is a little bit different from the Led Zeppelin
It
concert,
is.
but that's only because your feet
you
aren't
sure?
sticking to the arena floor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's why won't Apple give us the ability to
crazy.
to do, to force the software update to happen?
It doesn't make sense.
But don't you have to do kind of the same thing with the watch, where you have to sync it with the phone to get these updates?
No, the phone actually goes out and actually downloads the software once it's and then it'll download it to a point where it's on the phone ready to go, and then you can, because you have to have it
sync
to
your watch
you have to have
yeah.
it plugged into a power source while you're updating it. So
Yeah,
so
and but you do have the ability to go into the watch
Right.
app on the phone and say, check for updates.
Right.
Here's an update. Tap install and then let it do its thing.
Yep, definitely. And I'll be talking about my AirPods Pro 2 experience here in just a minute here when I traveled this past week. Speaking of AirPods Pro, they're actually going to be talking about that it may be harder to find them for the holidays this year, 2022, because Apple loses one of its suppliers over possible, and it's going to possibly cause some production issues. So Christmas time, you want to buy these for gifts. That's going to be hard to do because I guess a reliability supply chain analyst Ming-Chin Ko highlights a notice from AirPods supplier that there's a major overseas client with instructions to suspend assembly production for a smart acoustic product. So beware that potentially, if you're looking to get these for Christmas, it's possible there might be some supply issues. What do you guys think?
Honestly, why would you have your supplier stop making a popular product just before the holiday season so that you can make AirPod Pro 2s? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I think this is just more along the lines of they can't make them fast enough because they're having probably issues at the factory. But to actually cut production on something like AirPods, which is a pure moneymaker for Apple, for a new product that won't be out until probably March or April of next year, I think that's nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. Any thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah. Why do people idolize Ming-Chi Ko and his predictions? I mean, yes, he gets some things right. And he gets some things sort of ish right, like he'll have a nugget of truth in there, but then his interpretation is wrong. And then there's other times where he's just flat out wrong. But the Apple News sites love this guy and report everything he says as gospel. And Guy, you're right. This whole idea that Apple is stopping production on a moneymaker at the time of year when they're going to make a lot of money on this thing is absolutely crazy. That is not happening.
Yeah, that's nuts.
If there's issues getting a hold of product, it's the same reason there's issues getting a hold of every other product, and it's parts availability.
Supply chain issue.
Yeah. Supply chain, right. Next story here. This Apple does confirm that the emergency SOS via satellite is launching on the iPhone later this month. It was supposed to be in November as we record this. They confirmed in a press release that the emergency SOS via satellite for iPhone 14 models will be launched in the US and Canada later this month. They still haven't specified a specific date or iOS version required for the feature. I would go under the assumption iOS 16.2 at the very least.
Yeah.
And as we know, Apple announced that they invested $450 million in an advanced manufacturing fund towards the development of this critical infrastructure for the emergency SOS via satellite. And there's a support document about this as well as the press release, and it's good to hear. I know this is something that we've been waiting for a while here, and want to be able to try it out and see how I hope they're going to allow you to at least test it before you go out into the wilderness and use it. I think there was talk of that. What do you think, Kai?
Yeah, I think somewhere there's a guy stuck in the mountains going, it's not working yet. And to say that you're going to be able to test, there's a difference between testing satellite coverage from the middle of a city or even, on the outskirts of a national park as compared to being in the middle of that park, in the middle of nowhere, and hoping against hope that there's enough satellite coverage for it to pick up your phone, even after it all begins. So I think that the best thing that people can do, don't get yourself into a situation where you could die if you can't connect to a satellite with your phone.
This is true.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What do you think, Jeff?
Being able to test ahead of time is great.
Hope so.
The problem that I see, riffing off what you said, Guy, about what happens when you get to where you're really going to be way out in the middle of nowhere. As long as there's a satellite above the horizon, you're fine. The problem is when you're like in many places here in Colorado, where you can have mountains that are sticking up so high that your horizon is basically you just looking straight up. Or you're down in a tight canyon or something where your horizon is now like this wide. And that's where you have problems. The bigger problem that I see is that Apple still has poor battery life on Apple Watch, and saying, yeah, but with the new Ultra, that battery life's better. Doesn't matter. I can't go 2 days in the backcountry with an Apple Watch. It's a Apple Watch, even Ultra, is still a day hike, day trip watch. And until I can put on an Apple Watch and go into the backcountry and use it completely, like just normally, for at least 3 days, it is not a backcountry tool for me. And so even still, if I'm going into the mountains and I'm doing an overnight trip, I just leave my Apple Watch at home.
Yeah,
and I would do the same with an Ultra, which makes the Ultra actually have no value for me right now.
Right.
Well, all you have to do is carry like a big solar panel to plug in a USB cable that has a little tiny little thing on it that you can connect your Apple Watch to. That's all you got to do, Jeff. What's the big deal?
You're right. I just need to get over it.
Oh, you guys. So let's be interesting to see once that gets rolled out. We'll report it here. Next story, another firmware upgrade happened this week is for the AirTags. They released it as we record today. There's a new firmware update for the AirTags, and it's going to be updated to a new build, 2A24E. This is a firmware upgrade from that's updating since last April. They don't give us any notes on when they're going to be updated, and the same deal as it does with the AirPods Pro. I have no idea when they're updated. So, what else can we say about this other than we'll wait and I guess we'll find out if they still work, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Not much to say about that one. This one actually got there. I'm kind of happy to hear about. We'll be talking about iOS 16.1.1 that just got released, and of course we're in beta 16.2. Apple is fighting AirDrop spam with a new iPhone setting to launch widely next year. Normally, when you do the AirDrop, you can turn it, you can set it to receiving off, contacts only, and then you have everyone. But now they're going to add a 10-minute limit, so you can do everyone for 10 minutes. Because what happens is everybody turns on everyone, they forget they turned it on, and and it's open forever.
Your phone is filled with crap.
You're starting to get crap. So it is unclear when this setting is going to be available and when in each country. I know that they were. I think they were testing it. They want to test it in China. But it's something I think is smart, and this is kind of a political thing here, because especially with other countries, in China specifically, that they replaced that everyone option to everyone for 10 minutes. So that's kind of what motivated this decision, and I think it's a smart idea to have it everywhere. I mean, Why should it be for why should it be set that way? Because people forget. Like I said, what do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I think it's great. And the people forget part, absolutely true. With one of the versions of iOS and AirDrop, for me, it was really flaky with contacts only.
Mhm.
And I would be trying to AirDrop with someone where we both knew for certain we were in each other's contacts and it wouldn't work. And
Right.
finally I gave up and I just set it to everyone and left it. And that's where it's been for me for what, years now.
Yeah.
And having it where it can be everyone for 10 minutes would be better. I mean, I haven't had a problem with AirDrop spam, but
Yeah, I haven't either.
still, everyone for 10 minutes seems a lot better.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Guy?
I've never used it.
Okay.
My wife is on an older phone, and I have enough trouble just keeping her phone up and running, much less trying to figure out how to AirDrop her stuff. I think that the reasons behind limiting it is kind of flaky, especially since it's kind of kowtowing to China over something like this. But I get why you wouldn't want to have that on all the time. So, for people that use AirDrop, I'm sure it's not going to be that big of a deal. If you basically tell someone, I need to AirDrop you someone, you go into your settings, you turn it on, and then you get your stuff. As long as it works reliably, that's the only part that really matters.
Mm-hmm.
I use it all the time. I send stuff to my wife. She sends stuff to me. It works really well. So, but I'd rather be scared. And two more stories here real quick here. We got one of the stories is about some streaming news. Women's athletes are now going to have their own sports network. The Women's Sports Network, which is an ad-supported streaming service, is going to be available through Amazon Freevee, Tubi, and Fubo TV, as well as on smart TVs. The women's sports in general have become relatively popular within the last few years, specifically the WNBA for basketball for the women's league, because in 2021 Chicago, the Chicago Sky won, and that's a big market and got a lot of interest in women's basketball. And then this year Las Vegas Aces had won in 2022. So it's going to be a lot easier to be able to watch a lot of these women's sports and focusing on female athletes. You got ladies golf, you have basketball, and you have a lot of other sports that are going to be available. So this is a great thing to kind of expand sports. Guy, you being a big sports fan, that I think this is something that's really good, and I'd be watching. I was watching when Chicago won, and I think this is great.
I'm looking at a list of some of the partnerships that they have. I didn't even know there was a women's football alliance. So
football would be soccer.
Well, there's already. I thought there already was a women's soccer league.
Yeah, there is, and then they have the World Cup for women too.
Yeah. So is this a new alliance or new sports?
I'm not sure. I just know it's going to be a network that's for streaming, so which is nice. You'd be on your iPhone, your iPad, be able to watch this stuff and be another way of watching sports, and it'll be free because it'll be part of because it's ad supported.
Well, that's the way. Honestly, for live sports, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
All right. Here's an example of how screwed up it can sometimes be. The NFL has their NFL Plus thing going on.
Yeah.
It's useless. It's completely useless. I got it because I thought it was going to allow me to watch Miami Dolphin games live.
Nope.
No, you cannot. I can listen to them on my phone.
Right.
I can listen to them on my iPad and watch replays afterwards. But for $30, it's giving me nothing. And I won't sign up for it again. And if the NFL or any of these sports leagues continue to price people out from watching their games for free through ad-supported networks, then I'm just going to have to stop watching. You know, you have other leagues that are coming up now. The XFL and the USFL are coming up next year.
Right.
I'll just start watching those instead.
Yeah.
And the NFL can go jump in the lake, especially the Washington Commanders and Dan Schneider.
Let's not get down to that rabbit
I
hole.
know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Jeff, I know you're not a big sports fan, but I think this is just another way of appealing people to streaming services in general. And the fact of the matter is, you have another piece of a sports fan that's out there to appeal to people with streaming.
Yeah, I agree, and you're right. I'm not a spectator sports fan. I mean, for me, baseball games or social events that you go to and hang out with people and have something to eat and have a beer or two. And there's this other thing that's going on out in front of you at the same time, you know, so if you need to take a lull or have a lull in the conversation, you can just look this way and, you know, there's people out there to kind of entertain you.
Yeah, go sports ball.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So, but what I see with this is that it's creating accessibility to women's sports that we didn't have before, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's move on out of the news here for this week. We talked quite about topics. As I mentioned earlier, Apple did release iOS 16.1.1 and iPadOS 16.1.1 with bug fixes. There were some minor bug fix updates that come in 2 weeks after iOS 16.1 that was released. That was an update that added support for iCloud shared photo library, live activities, and more. You can get the download when through software updates and should automatically push. But I think it's definitely important that since it's a .1 release that there is a bug fix, you should install this as soon as possible. There have been some widespread issues with Wi-Fi bugs, whether you be random disconnects and not staying connected, which I thought was kind of that's a tough bug here to deal with here, and it's definitely something that you should update right away. You guys have any thoughts on that?
More than the bug fixes, which of course are important. These updates have some significant security patches in them.
Security patches too, right?
That's, to me, that's the reason to jump on these right away. Get those security patches. And then bonus, there's a couple other bug fixes.
Right. Yeah, it's almost always a security patch when you have a .1 increase on the iOS. So any thoughts on that, Guy?
No, just get your updates.
Yeah, just do them and get it done. And then going into beta this week, Apple did seed the second betas of 16.2 for both iPad and iOS. And they are going to be doing the freeform and external monitor support on the iPad. And you're going to kind of think that we just talked about the emergency SOS calls, that 16.2 is going to be something that's needed. They did add some enhancements here. Dynamic Island for those who have the 14 Pro and Pro Max, that they've added a little useful enhancement in this, whereas it's going to show only two status icon batteries and the Ethernet, or the Wi-Fi, single bars, and as activated in Dynamic Island content. It's very wide, so it kind of shows it off. So it's much easier to be able to view that in Dynamic Island. So they did add that, and the other features that they've added is also includes the medications has been enhanced for the medications feature, so you can keep track of your medications. Some new accessibility features. You got the live activities in there, of course. That's going to be in there. You're going to be able to set it for allowing it or not allowing it in the Apple TV app, and as well as more frequent updates if you so choose. So they've got some other enhancements there with that, and they are planning a bit of a layout change in iOS 16.2 as well. Kind of expected to lay it out a little differently. streamlined iPhone experience. So we'll see what happens. Again, this is beta, so they're still being tested. Anything you've tested on your iPad at all, Jeff, this time around?
I've played with Freeform a little bit.
Oh, good.
And it's cool. The problem I have is I have no one to collaborate with. So, I can't see how that's working.
We should try that out because I have my beta iPad. Maybe we should.
We should try that out. What I've been using it for, just in the testing, is sort of like just a free-form whiteboard sort of thing where I'm just drawing or I'm creating something that's more ephemeral, transient. I know it's going to go away very soon. I'm not doing permanent stuff with it, but I think if I play with a little more and have someone else that I'm collaborating with, I can see where I could really get into using Freeform.
Yeah, you have to check it out. Anything you want to add with the beta on this guy?
Not so much with the phone. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with oh darn it, the new UI that they use with the iPad off to the side. What the heck is that called?
Oh, what?
Stage Manager.
Stage Manager. Thank you. I don't even know why I couldn't think of that. Because it's very flaky. It doesn't seem to work with all apps, and it doesn't even seem to work the same way with apps that it seemed to work with before. And so I'm looking to see a little more consistency, not just from Apple, but from app developers to implement it in such a way that it's going to be like, if I go to the trouble of turning Stage Manager on, I want it to work for as long as I have it on.
Right.
And if I am using it, I don't want to suddenly see all of my apps go full screen. I want a consistent experience, and I'm just not seeing that right now with the iPad.
That's a good point. And it is frustrating. There are times on my iPad where I'm command tabbing between applications, and it's very jarring where I have something full screen, but then the next thing I jump to isn't. And what I've changed to doing with Stage Managers, turn it on when I know I'm going to use it for a specific thing, and then I turn it back off, which to me kind of defeats the purpose of having Stage Manager.
You know what I would like to see them do? And I just thought about this, and if you don't mind, I'll tell you what it is.
No, I don't.
Having multiple apps on screen at the same time, but being able to like blow them up to the size that you want and then shrink them back down and take another one and then blow that one up with some kind of touch gesture. The problem with it, of course, is what kind of touch gesture can you use that applications aren't already using to do the same thing, especially graphics apps, which, if you do something like that, it's going to do something relatively unexpected. I like how Apple is attempting to have multi-application support on the iPad. They just need to figure out a way to do it on a smaller screen that isn't going to take up so much real estate that you can't see anything else that's going on.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. A couple other things with beta. TVOS 16.2 is out. They did add a new Siri voice recognition feature, which will allow the Apple TV to recognize each person in the household by voice and swapping to the appropriate profile, which I think is kind of cool. So you have multiple family members, and they can keep their content separate. So they've made that easier, which is it's a cool thing. Then WatchOS 9.2 was also released, and generally there isn't too much going on with watch updates. They really haven't said much when it comes to that. They are introducing a support for a new home app architecture that will allow to be added to, which is going to be added to iOS 16.2 and Mac OS Ventura, but really no other specific features in the watch. So that we'll wait for that to happen here. So Moving on, next topic here. I wanted to talk a little bit about the AirPods Pro and my experience. What happened when I traveled last weekend. As we record here, I had some fun here. Going and visited to Las Vegas this past weekend, hanging out with some friends, and I was looking forward to using my AirPods Pro because I'm always so used to bringing my my Bose QC35 headphones, which are big and bulky, and I always had my AirPods with me, and I would put them in, and of course even though you have the you had the noise canceling turned on, but it wouldn't really cancel out all the air noise from the airplane when you're flying. So so I was like, all right, here we go. I'm ready to go here. Let's put this on. I'm going to put the plane's taking off, and I start because I had some videos all downloaded ready to watch, and watching some shows, and sure enough, I put them in, and poof, I don't hear a thing. It works perfectly. So
Nice.
it was a complete noise reduction, noise cancellation. I heard what I was listening to. I did not hear any outside noise. Whenever the flight attendant would go by, I'd have to pause and switch it to transparency mode so I could hear. And I'm very impressed with these, and didn't get to have this a little late to the game as they released these, but I'm very impressed with these AirPods Pro 2nd gen that they do indeed work very well, as they said. Just like they did the demo during the demo where they're doing the jackhammer and all the noise on the outside. It's true, and airplane noise is very very hard to block out, and and I'm very impressed.
It doesn't work with my 1st gens. It's not a great experience.
Yeah, no, I'm very very impressed with these when it comes to flying. So something to consider. I mean, especially those of you who have the older AirPods and not the AirPods Pro. That I think it's something to take a look at here. So definitely something to look at. Anything else you guys want to add on that?
I'm gonna have to start looking to see if I can find some good deals on AirPod Pro 2 maybes. I'm going down to Florida next month, so on a plane.
I've seen
I'm flying.
$10 off sometimes, and some some good deals. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. We'll talk a little bit about Apple Watch and the optimized charging that's available in the Apple Watch. Apple Watches that are actually running Watch OS 9 can learn about the charging habits by allowing us to slow battery aging. Similarly, that's a feature found in the iPhone called optimized battery charging. And as we all know, battery health is always a big concern with everybody. It's not something that you always are hearing people complain about the battery life. I've got an issue with it; just always drains. And but what they've done is they've added the optimized battery charging in the Apple Watch as well in OS 9, Watch OS 9. So all you have to do is you go into the Watch app and you go to the optimized charging limit, and this is also in the Apple Watch Ultra, and it does a good job of keeping it drained. Because I found right away of a draining problem when I forgot to put the Apple Watch when I traveled into airplane mode, and sure enough, the battery is down to 8% in a matter of about 15 minutes because of course trying to connect. But of course, I got an outlet right in my seat since I'm flying Economy Plus, and it's plugged in the charger with the Apple Watch charger, and it's something to be aware of when it comes to that. So check that out in the settings. There is Apple the optimized charging. And Jeff, you got the newer watch. Have you had any battery problems with yours?
I have not. And I do have the optimized charging turned on. And actually, what made my battery experience really nice with this watch was turning off always on display.
Which so you did turn it off.
Yeah, I know it's one of the things that is supposed to be really great about newer Apple Watches, but I found that it was too significant of a hit on my battery life. So turn that off, optimized charging on, and I'm having a really good experience.
Yeah, and that's in the settings. So any battery issues with your Apple Watch, Guy?
No, it lasts a day and then it dies. So it's,
Cool.
So
goes.
you're not doing any overnight camping with your Apple Watch.
I am not.
Same.
Good. Couple other tips I wanted to talk about here. The hows and whys of the control center. And you guys, I'm sure you both love the control center. I really like it, both on the iPhone and the iPad. And I love the fact of being able to customize it the way you want. The fact of being able to have a lot of these settings right at your fingertips and sometimes you forget. So of course on the iPad at the top right, you just drag down, and that's how you bring in the control center. And there's all kinds of great things in there that you can actually go in there and customize. The way you get to that is if you go into the settings app and then you go under control center, you've got all of the different control settings in there on the iPad. So you can access within the apps, or you can do also turning on show home controls. And I'm sure that's something you like to do, Jeff, especially on the iPhone, right?
Yes, I have the home controls showing.
So really easy to get to on both the iPhone and the iPad.
Yeah.
So in the included controls that they have in here, you've got silence mode. So it's very easy to get to the control center and go into silent mode. The Notes app, the flashlight, the screen recording, which is great, being able to record your screen. The camera on the iPad, and of course there's Stage Manager for those of you who have the newer iPads, having the M1, and then you have the 2018 model A series iPads. You'll have that available
right under the wire.
You're right under the wire. Yeah, you just
right
missed
under
it.
the wire.
So,
In reliability engineering.
and there, look at that. Siri, I didn't even ask Siri that. But there's some other things in here as well. The Apple TV remote is really an awesome thing to have and be able to get to that on your iPad. And this translates over to the iPhone as well. So you definitely get some good options here. The accessibility shortcuts. You got to have I love having the magnifier on the iPhone especially, but you could do it on the iPad as well. The dark mode switching. Some people like to go in dark mode and then go back into light mode and have a quick way of switching back and forth. You've got that option. The music recognition, which are also known as Shazam, that's also available. I don't know if people use it as much with the iPad as they do with the iPhone, because it's pretty big and you're not be holding up here.
There are people that still use the iPad as a camera. So
yeah, well, that's why I say you get people like this as I'm showing. Oh, let me take a picture.
I do actually, not the camera part, unless I really have to come up with clever ways to get photographs, at my desk. But I do use stuff like Shazam on the iPad because it's the device that's right in front of me.
That's true.
So some of the things that we look at as iPad features that we can get it through Control Center or whatever, and think, really, why? Sometimes it's because that's just the device that's right in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you guys do as far as customizing your controls, Jeff? You do the ones I just described, and both your iPhone and your iPad, for that matter.
Most of my customization for Control Center is on my iPhone because that tends to be the device that's with me all the time. And I have some scenes for HomeKit that I have in there. And the reason I set them up in there is because no secret, the HomePod and Siri in my life, very dysfunctional relationship.
Yes, it is.
And I can stand in my living room and give my HomePod the same HomeKit command 5 times in a row, and it will acknowledge that it's received a command and then not do it. So most of those
sounds like my kids.
It's like having a kid. It's yes.
Yeah.
But I don't have to pay for college. So anyhow, stuff like that just goes into Control Center, so that when I say it the first time, it doesn't work. I say it the second time, it doesn't work. Swipe on Control Center, tap the button, and it works.
Absolutely. Guy, anything you do with the Control Center that's any different?
kind of like with Jeff, most of my customization is on the phone. The things that I use most often, the flashlight app, which is, so basic.
Everybody uses that one.
Yes.
Everybody uses that one. Magnifying glass, TV app, and something that I didn't think I would use that much is alarms. So timers and all the rest of that. I use that all the time. Because I do a lot of the cooking here at the house, and there'll be times when I'll set everything up to do whatever it is that I want to do in the kitchen, and it's like, okay, I've got 10 to 15 minutes where there is nothing for me to do, so I'll just set a quick timer on my phone and go and do something else until it buzzes or beeps or whatever it's going to do to let me know that my time is up and I should go and prevent the kitchen from being burned down. So yeah, that's like most of the stuff that I do. And the thing that I think is great is that Apple has taken a concept that they've had for a very, very long time, which is widgets, and have turned it around to where, at least for now, I don't want to say, well, it's cool, but it's very, very useful in a way that widgets on the Mac really never was. And the problem with widgets on the Mac is that if you're going to use an application, why do you want to go into another environment to use it? With the phone or your iPad, you'll want to go into a different set of circumstances. Like if you're doing something on your phone and it's like, oh crap, I've got to do this other thing. Well, if you've got it set up in your control center as a widget, you swipe down on the right and you can do that thing, swipe back up, and then you're good to go and you're back in the app that you started with. Mm-hmm. And that's what these widgets and little mini applications that we have in iOS and iPad OS are really, really useful for.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree.
Sorry, didn't mean. Where's that soapbox? I got to get off.
No, that's I'm glad you brought that up. The other I always add all the time is in the accessibility that they allow very easily to add is the text size. Sometimes you want to be able just to tap that, and that's awesome. I mean, I have it set at 120% now, but I can, the default's 100%. If you want to make it really small, you could, but then you go up to 135%, and it's a slide. It's a slide bar, which really makes it super easy to change that. And then
But they need to make an app called Mr. Magoo, and that's basically all that it would do. Oh, Magoo, you've done it again.
You've done it again. But you can do it on all apps or home screen only. So you can change. That's another flexibility that it has for text size. So which is really awesome. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm thinking this Mr. Magoo idea. What I'm seeing is a Kickstarter for this, and it's actually a piece of hardware. So it's an iPhone case that has this flip panel, that comes around and is right here, and then you have a Fresnel lens basically that's in front of your screen, sticking out. So it magoos your iPhone for you, and when you don't need it anymore, you just flip it around, and now it's on the back of the phone out of the way. This is going to be a great Kickstarter, Guy. We're going to get rich.
So much money. We just have to pay off the Jim Backus family, and we are golden.
Be good.
For people who don't know, he was the one that voiced Mr. Magoo.
Yeah, I hope people know. No, but maybe not.
Maybe not.
Young kids out there.
He was also Thurston Howell on Gilligan's Island.
How about if the app name is MGEW, Magoo?
Magoo.
That'll work.
Yeah, that
works for me.
Not using the spelling. One last tip I want to talk real quick about is how to be able to allow and prevent explicit content and ratings in iOS 16 and iPadOS. For those of you who are looking to get some restrictions to that, and not necessarily we would do that, because I don't know if we need to limit our accessibility to adult and restricted sites, but this is a nice feature to have. This is under the screen time feature that's in iOS 16, and the way you do that is you go into the screen time settings, and under settings, under screen time, and you can tap content and privacy restrictions, and then tap content restrictions. Then you have web content of unrestricted limited adult sites or allow websites. So you may want to do that, especially those if you have young kids, and you want to restrict if they grab your phone and then you have that turned on, and they might go to someplace you don't know. And
don't hit P. Don't hit P.
Yeah, so don't hit that. So, but
Yeah.
you can go the restrictions on not only websites. You can do music, podcasts, news, and fitness. So you really can do some they've really done a great job in this screen time and restrictions of this for those who need this. It can, because kids are grabbing the adults' iPhones all the time.
Sure.
Want to look at something, and it isn't a bad idea to have this set, and this is good stuff. So, guys, any thoughts on that?
It's good that that's there. Now that I think about it, I bet there are some adults that have issues where that they know that seeing explicit content is a problem for them for whatever reason, and having a way to block that out
for
is
themselves.
good.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. No, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So, all right, I think we've talked about lots of great stuff this week. Thank you guys for some great conversation on everything this week. So let's
and happy birthday, Dave.
Oh yes, thank you. I completely forgot to mention that. Yes, I happen to be recording this on my birthday, so yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
So you're 34, 35.
Yeah, and I didn't get any cake from Jeff just yet, but.
Guy, I can't believe you would slam Dave like that, saying you're 34, 35. We were both well aware that this is the first year he can legally buy alcohol.
That's right. That is true. That is true. Thank you. I appreciate that, guys. Let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at InTouchWithIOS. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You also can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you are notified when we are live streaming, which is usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. You can also go watch the live show as well as past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. Link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Mimir, Pocket Casts, Overcast, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65 for now. And Guy, Cyril, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, not a
always,
problem.
We always love having you here.
Yep.
Always love having you. Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me on the mymac.com podcast that I've been doing for a long time, much longer than I want to admit. And I do that with Gazmaz almost each and every week over at mymac.com. You can sometimes, I haven't done one lately, catch me driving my car to work live streamed on Facebook because I can. And that's Guy's Daily Drive. You can also contact me over the Twitters over with Mac Parrot or VertShark. VertShark.com is the website that you can go to see all the odds and vids. And of course, the VertShark channel over on YouTube for all of the vids. Thanks, Guy. And thank you. Jeff Gamet, as always, I'm always happy to have you here on the show. Where can people find you?
Well, always happy to be here, and happy birthday again.
Thank you so much.
I'm Jay Gamet on most all the social medias. So, Twitter, as long as it's here, Instagram, YouTube, mastodon.social. That's I'm Jay Gamet there. So Tuesdays most of the time on Mac Voices Live with you, and then Thursdays early in the day on the big show. And Dave, you made a surprise guest appearance today. That was so cool.
Go watch.
Yeah. Then here most Thursday evenings, and then on Fridays the Mac show, and then also the Context Machine, because Brand Chaffin and I have teamed up again.
Great. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening. We hope you'd enjoyed the show because we enjoyed doing it, and we'll talk again soon. All right, guys. Thank you so much. That was a good show. A lot of good.
That was a lot of fun.
How was Mac Voices on Tuesday? I was unfortunately not able to show up for that one.
It was good. Jeff had to leave early because he had a Apple user group. But
Yeah, and I left, and then the show got better. So it was great.
yeah, that's true.
Come see,
Jim,
come saw.
Jim Ray had his, I guess one of his servers had crashed.
Ooh.
Panorama. So he missed. But yeah, we had a good show. It was fun. We missed you.
N2 Tech says happy birthday, Dave.
Oh, sorry, I missed. I had been popping over in the chats. Thank you, NZ Tech. N2 Tech.
N2 Tech.
I don't know who that is, but thank you. I will type that in here as well.
That's awesome.
Yes. So
Did I show you the iPhone mount that I made so I can do continuity camera?
I don't think I've seen it, but
No.
So I needed a camera mount for my iPhone so I could demo continuity camera at the user group on Tuesday, but that would, with the setup I have, I just didn't have anything that would work. So I made one
From Legos. That's great. Now,
is that a good picture of it?
Is that attached to your laptop, or what does that go onto?
It has the bigger gap here so that I can hang it on my big display.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the phone sits in the smaller gap.
Right. So
what did you use to keep
it? And it kept stable. I was really concerned.
Is it just like super glue or something, or?
No, it's Lego.
Well, I know, but I mean, do you have it set up so that it's permanent, isn't it?
No, it's just Lego.
Oh, okay.
Lego.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it handles all the weight. That's awesome.
Yeah. Whoops.
Well, because there is
I just broke it apart, but I had to actually really mess it up to break it apart.
Plexicam should consider doing a Lego version, huh?
there is no iPhone mount. There is only Zool.
There is only Zool. Right.
There is only Zool.
There we go.
Yeah, I showed you guys.
Together.
I showed you guys the one I've used, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that a week and a half ago.
I'm gonna say goodbye to the live stream. Bye.